This is how we make sourdough bread in our van. The loaves are smaller. We're using a bread maker. We do the normal sourdough procedures where we mix, stretch and fold, ferment, and then we proof inside the bread bag. This is a dash bread maker. It only draws 400 watts. We go in the bread or bake only mode. So we let it proof inside here. You can look in the window or open it up and see where your proof stage is. It's a good sandwich loaf. It's not the same as a Dutch oven loaf, but for on the road to have fresh sourdough bread, it works out pretty good. I'm going to go through the bread making part of this pretty quick. I'll try to share a link to our video to how to make sourdough. So everything's the same except for the proofing and the baking. So 180 grams of water, tear it out. This calls for 150 grams of starter, which is a fair amount of starter. Because I like this to happen quick because you're trying to do it, between certain times. So and with the warmth of the van, this bread, you can do it all in one day. Okay, I always pre-mix my starter into the water. Close enough. I'm going to tear this out. I leave my spoon in there. I need 300 grams of flour. I'm using bread flour, King Arthur's bread flour. All right, 300 grams of bread flour. I'm going to mix it in. Get the bread flour generally incorporated in there. I don't want to use that. My sexy assistant. Stop. And now I'm going to add my salt. Tear that out. And this calls for 6 grams of salt.
Oh.
All right, 6 grams of salt. I'm going to mix this up. And like I say, if you're new to sourdough bread making, you're just getting this kind of, all the dry stuff kind of wet. It's not going to look like a good dough, but as the stretch and folds happen, it'll make this look like a really nice dough ball. So this is probably pretty. We've used our 150 grams of flour or starter. So now I'm going to feed this. I know the jar weighs 385. So there's a 474 in there. So it's roughly 100 grams of starter. So now I'm going to do a 1 to 1 to 1. I add the water first. I added 100 grams of water.
Missed that.
To our starter. I'm going to tear it out, and now I'm going to add 100 grams of flour. So it's always one part flour to 1 part water by weight.
Don't.
Yeah, I think Rosie may want to use this tomorrow or tonight, so I'm going to leave this on the counter. Let it double today. Now what I want to do in this video is I want to keep track of how much power we use. I have 400 amp hours of lithium, so I'll tell you what this charge is when we start, and then what the charge is when we're done, so you can get an idea how much this draws. It's 400 watts. I think it's an hour and 40 minutes, but you're not 400 watts at that whole time, so we'll see how it works out. Okay, and today's a 75 degree day. It's sunny, so this van will get warm, so things should happen quick. We'll see you in an hour when we do the stretch and folds. Bye. All right, wash my hands, wet them. It's been an hour. We started this at 10:30. It's 11:30. I'm going to start my first stretch and fold with wet hands. I'll take this out, stretch it, fold it, stretch it the other way, fold it, stretch it, and then I'm going to tuck it around to make it look like a dough. And every time you do this, this will look better. We'll do this in another half hour. We'll do this 4 times. Put it back. Now, this bread has twice the starter, and it's 85 degrees in the van. So this happens quick. You can see the starter I'm feeding for Rosie for her hopefully English muffins. And I'll leave a link to a video she watched. They're amazing. It's already starting to, you can see it's already starting to, we fed this and it's growing. So we'll be back in a half an hour for the next stretch and fold. Bye. All right, so a little after 12 now. We're doing our second stretch and fold, wet hands. Pull it out. You can see it's a lot nicer than the first time. Flip it, stretch it, do it, and then we're going to tuck it around. It's still 85 in here. Look, the starter's growing really nice. Put this back in. We'll see you guys about 12:30 for our third stretch and fold. All right, third stretch and fold. It's 90 degrees in here now. If she looks at the starter, that's really taken off. This is starting to look really nice. So I do stretch, fold it, stretch, fold it, and we tuck it, and you see how it's looking nicer and nicer. So we got one more stretch and fold, then we let it ferment. But it's actually been fermenting this whole time, especially since it's 90 degrees in here. Remember, wet your hands before you do the dough. Fourth stretch and fold. Look at our starter. It's been almost about 2 hours, and look how it's doubled, and it's 93 in here. Last stretch and fold, and this, like I say, this will take off well too because of the, so I stretched it. If you notice how nice and smooth and doughy like this is, looks really nice. And that's our last stretch and fold. We're gonna put it in this. See how there's bubbles on here already? This is started its fermentation. So we're gonna leave it in this bowl.
Covered.
And when it gets not quite double, then we're gonna put it into the bread maker's basket to finish its final proofing. And we're done. I'm bringing this. This is ready to make another. This is ready to make bread now. So see how it's nice and bubbly? That's how time and temperature works. Okay, it's 2:30. This is definitely pretty close to doubled in size. It's very bubbly. Smells pretty good. Now it's a fast rise, and it's a lot of starter, so it's not going to be as soury as normal sourdough bread. So I'm going to do what they call shaping. This is my version. It's a camper version. So I just basically just pick it up, just kind of pinch it all together.
Oh, I had a bad picture. I can't get it.
All right, go back. All right, and then we're just going to drop this into the bread making bowl. Now remember, the paddle's out of this. And this is a pound or a pound and a half loaf.
Oh my God.
And when this gets toward the top of this, we bake it. This particular one, you have to twist it and locks, goes in, and you can see the bubbles on there. And unlike, you don't have to score this compared to Dutch oven sourdough. So we're gonna leave. Okay, so it's 2:30. We started this at 10:30. So double the starter with that 90 degree van. Things happen quick, a lot quicker than home bread. The same time frame, if we would have started 2 or 3 hours earlier, it would be like 5 o'clock. So this is much quicker. So we got to keep a close eye on this because this is going to grow quick. All right, my wife is telling me I'm talking too much. All right, it's 3:30. It's got a little bit more to go, but you see all the bubbles forming? It's looking nice. If I baked it right now, it'd probably be okay, but I'm gonna let it go a little bit longer. Like I said, this happens quick with all that starter and the 90 degree van. Okay, bye. Okay, it's almost 4:30. I'm gonna start this bake. We could probably let that rise a little bit more, but then you run the risk of it falling. It's still 85 in here. It's 5:30, so this looks nice. So I'm not even gonna poke it. So I'm gonna go to bake only mode on this. So I'll turn my inverter on. Menu. It's number 12 on this. Then I hit start, and it's baking. Hour and 40 minutes, should be good. Now what I'm gonna do is, what's our batteries at? This says our batteries are at 93%. So let's see what they end up when we're done. All right, bread's done. The batteries are at 90 or 87%. This probably could have went a little bit longer in a rise, but it's not a bad looking loaf. It's probably hot, so be careful. And I have it at the max 140. There we go. Alright, that is Van Life sourdough. It's a small life, it's a small loaf. It's a small bread maker, but when you cut it, it's really nice for sandwiches. And we'll let it cool down and cut it and do a taste test. Bye. There we go. Okay, let's see what this looks like. It's cooled down. And you see it has a pretty tight crumb, but it's like sandwich bread. It's, you know, it doesn't have that same. It smells good. It has that sourdough smell. So I'm gonna cut a nice slice and make some sandwiches. Another satisfied customer. Is it any good?
Yeah, it's very good.
She hates being on film, but she's the master bread maker. You know, we haven't made this bread for a while since we haven't been traveling for a few weeks, but I forgot how it really is pretty good bread. We've been having the Dutch oven sourdough, but this is pretty good bread.